Got out of pajamas today, washed my hair, put some clothes on, and went to go look at new construction. And that is apropos to tell you a new construction not so great story for Touch Base Tuesday. Client was interested in a property of a builder that has built a lot of these, this type of product. It is a condo-style townhome, and there are many, many examples from this builder in our area. And I have built with this builder single-family homes in the past, multiple times. I want to say 3 or 4 homes I've built. So those all went well, so I had confidence in this. And the house had been done since August. We went to our new home orientation. So we were told at that new home orientation that they had changed their policy and they were no longer doing blue tape. They weren't allowing us to do blue tape. He said at that meeting, I will do it afterwards and I will do the quality control. This made me nervous. I tried to point as many things out, but that's different than getting to point out like this little spot here. I'm pointing to this on the wall and you're going to remember that? Probably not. And he said it was just a way for them to control it, and that some buyers were too picky, or their agents. So that was their reasoning, because they don't want to have a quality product, and their buyers were too picky because their product wasn't living up to the standard. And he made it seem like it was a standard policy from the builder. And then come to get to closing, and I'm feeling really anxious about things because we pointed out as much as we could, and he noted them. And I asked a coworker to go to the closing, the final walkthrough, because I was just having some internal anxiety because I was out of town. I forgot to tell you that. And she happens to, ironically, said, yep, I'm happy to do that. And I'm actually closing one of these in a different community. And I said, oh my gosh, isn't it crazy that they're not allowing blue tape walkthroughs? And she goes, I don't know what you mean. I got to do blue tape. And I was like, what? And she said, yeah. And I was like, that is not cool. So it's just this community. So I sent them a professional but curt email saying, I have a lot of reservations about that. You told me that this was a policy. They sent me an email back that I was trying to get them to allow her to walk through ahead of time. And they said no, basically. And they said, well, our policy is to do the quality control ourselves ahead of the new home orientation, and then you can point things out. And I said, well, that's great that that's your policy, but that's actually not what happened. He told us he was going to do it after the fact. This house has been sitting there since August, and no one bothered to go in. And there's like red clay on the carpet, multiple places. There's like paint under the banister is not painted. All kinds of dings because people have come in and out a lot. All kinds of marks. Places where the paint has rubbed off on the outside around the sprinkler systems. Like numerous things. She goes to the final walkthrough for me. There's a scratch that hadn't been noted, and they weren't going to cover it. And she said, I was just at a closing this morning with the same builder, different community, and he was willing to write it on there. So yeah, I want that to get buffed out. And meanwhile, quality control didn't happen that you said you were going to do. You didn't check the roof like you said you were going to. You didn't do the paint touch up like you were going to. You didn't do any of these things you said you were going to do. There's still big stains on the carpet. It's the final walkthrough. Then he wasn't even going to document these things. So he was like, well, sign off here that everything's okay, and I'll send you an email. And she's like, no, this should be on this thing. I don't want this document that goes to your manager saying everything's okay when it's not. Every other final walkthrough where there's still items that need to be done, almost never is a builder like this. It's mostly things that just couldn't come in on time. But the builders are respectable, and they do everything they need to do between the new home orientation and the walkthrough. These guys didn't. And then they wanted her to write off that everything was good when it wasn't. So they wrote on that piece of paper where they had to sign and sent us an email. It just didn't like how that all went down. And then for a series of days after closing, People showed up at her house not knowing what to do because he didn't manage it at all. So the painter shows up and he's like, what am I supposed to do? And she's like, oh my gosh. He told me I didn't even need to be here, that you would know exactly what you need to do. And he said, I don't. And where's the paint? He didn't even come with paint. And the carpet guy couldn't get, the paint guy actually was supposed to get the carpet stains out apparently, but couldn't get them out. So they had to send somebody else again later. They'd given her the wrong keys. Keys didn't work. Carpet stains still. Paint, like basic paint touch up. Like again, the behind the banister, no paint there. Like basic paint. Things that we had actually pointed out, again, still not done. Like it was 3 or 4 days of people coming in and out after closing, and she had to manage it and keep telling people what they're supposed to do because he wasn't managing it. So annoying. And then yesterday, she's laying in the tub for the first time in the secondary bathroom and looks over and there's a hole in the cabinet right underneath where the counter is. And she texts him and says, I just saw this because I laid in the tub for the first time. And he said, oh, you missed that at the new home orientation. And I'm like, well, you obviously missed it too then. And he's like, well, I can't verify that it didn't happen after closing, which is true. That is true. And then he said, but I'll do you a favor and come fix it. But you have not filled out the survey yet. And I want 5-star review and I want shout outs if I come fix it. So now he's bribing her to do something after closing when this whole thing has been poorly managed. And she says, I don't think you want me to fill out the survey. He said, well, I want you to fix, I will come fix it if you do that. At this point, it is not worth the cabinet fix. It's a hole that can be fixed by somebody else. And I think telling the corporate office what this job site is doing and how they're managing things is not in line with the corporate office or other communities right down the road who are doing it the normal way is worth it. Is worth having the cabinet done yourself because he's bribing it. And I know because he told us that his salary or his bonuses are tied to the reviews. So he wants his bonus even though he did a piss poor job, and he's only willing to do the cabinet if that's the case, which it's after closing. We missed it because nobody laid in the tub, but I don't think he's going to get a very good review. I'm just saying. That's the story. So what's the lesson? As agents, we tour hundreds of new construction projects a year, and over the years we've dealt with hundreds. So we bring a breadth of experience, and I am confident in this final product because I have built with this builder before. However, just because you've built with someone before does not mean you're going to have a good on-site building process this time. I don't think the product is bad. I think that management company or that neighborhood is being poorly managed, and probably corporate has no idea. And so the next time I get a red flag, red flag, I should have called another community. It never occurred to me he was literally lying to my face. And that's a lesson, I guess. That's a lesson. And if you're out there and you're helping someone build and they tell you they're not doing blue tape anymore, call another community to verify that. That's actually corporate policy. And then call them to the mat if it's a lie.